It all started in 1988. Sony was working on showcasing their new toys and technology to the world when all of a sudden, a man named Ken Kutaragi approached them and pitched the idea of a new audio chip that could be put into Nintendo's 16-bit console. Of course, Sony did so. Once done, Ken continued to push for Sony's management team towards CD technology, being the innovator that he was. Sony didn't want to touch the idea of making games, thinking the investment would not be worthwhile, so they initially said no. However, Ken insisted and said, "Yes, you will." Lo and behold, the father of the PlayStation had convinced Sony to make their first standalone console. At the very beginning, it was a joint venture between both Nintendo and Sony. Sony would license the games, while Nintendo manufactured cartridges. But Nintendo felt like they got the short end of the stick and announced a partnership with another competitor in 1991, Philips, Sony's biggest competition, thus backstabbing Sony. So Sony kind of pouted in the corner for a little bit until their higher-ups picked them up, put them on their feet, dusted them off, and pursued a CD video game console. The PlayStation, complete with 3D graphics and CD discs, released on December 3rd of 1991, rolling up as the digital cavalry of the market. Thus came the 3D explosion of the 90s. Every game was slick, edgy, and wanted to be the top gun. Nintendo and Sega eventually came out with 3D consoles of their own. Sega, unfortunately, pulled a France and dropped out pretty quickly compared to the Nintendo 64 and the PlayStation. They competed for the 3D marketplace throughout the mid and late 1990s. Nintendo, still using those cartridges, were going up against the more advanced technology of CDs, which held more space and had better graphics. For the most part at least. Those polygons give me flashbacks to geometry class. Well, let's just say Sony won the 5th gaming generation in sales. They also happened to win the 6th with the PS2. Nintendo realized something. They may not have had the best hardware, but they arguably had the best IPs of any of the consoles at the time. It was after the GameCube that you can observe Nintendo switching from competition to just doing their own things with their consoles. Whether it be gimmicks or reliance on first-party games, Nintendo really started to showcase their independence after owning the console business for so long. And as for the PlayStation, a new competitor had arrived, the Xbox. God bless American engineering. And that's a story for a different video. So you can say that Sony may have won over Nintendo in dominance over the market, but it helped Nintendo find its way to what it is today, a standalone, creative, and gimmicky gaming giant.